Welcome, everybody, to the Snipe and Score podcast. I'm Aiden Calkins. Unfortunately, our great Capitals fan, Sean Wallace, is not here today, but he will be on the next episode. But we do have a very special guest today. We have St. Bonaventure hockey head coach Mike Cosentino with us today. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Aiden. Thank you for having me on the show. Appreciate it. Happy to
Abs-
be here.
Absolutely. So, Mike, let's give everybody a little bit of a background on who you are, what you do, and just kind of how you got to St. Bonaventure.
Name's Mike Cosentino. I'm from Point Pleasant, New Jersey, which is about a 6 hour drive away, down on the Jersey Shore, born and raised there. Played high school hockey for Red Bank Catholic, junior hockey in Philadelphia for the Philadelphia Revolution. Then went to King's College, which is NCAA Division III. Played there for a year, attended school there, and then transferred to Newman University. Played 2 seasons there, which is also NCAA Division III. That's located in Philly. From there, I took an opportunity my junior year, left to go play pro for the Watertown Wolves in the Federal Prospects Hockey League, the FPHL. Got a couple call-ups to the SPHL and ECHL while I was there. And then I played for about four different Federal Prospects Hockey League minor pro teams, Columbus River Dragons, Elmira Mammoth, Delaware Thunder, and the Watertown Wolves. So did that for a few years. This is bringing me till I was about 26 years old. I was actually with Elmira as a goalie, and I decided to retire from pro hockey and actually take a job with the Mammoth as an assistant general manager and a goalie coach initially. Was just that time in my life I kind of felt that, it was a good time to segue into coaching and managing, which I knew was something I always wanted to do. It's tough to hang them up as a player. You don't know always when the right time is, but did that. Was great experience with the Mammoth. Actually got appointed to assistant coach about halfway through the year, and then towards the end of the year, got bumped up to interim head coach as well, and finished the season out there. Then I took a job with the Brooklyn Aviators in the USPHL, which is a junior hockey league. Coached there for 2 years. I should say the decision to step away from Elmira really, the team relocated. So really wasn't new ownership. Owner moved away. So, it was that type of situation. Also, my brother was having his firstborn at the time. So I was then being an uncle for the first time and, wanted to come a little bit closer to home. That's why the Brooklyn job was so attractive to me. Did that for 2 years, but when I saw the opportunity, for St. Bonaventure and to be the coach here and work for the university, it just, jumped out at me as something that I really wanted to do. And, I always wanted to be in the college environment. I always wanted to work for a university, especially an established one, well-respected one like St. Bonaventure. And I knew as soon as I saw the opportunity that this was something I wanted to go for. So I'm very fortunate for the opportunity and very happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, just kind of going back to your playing days. I did find your elite prospects page,
Yes.
which is pretty cool. And I did kind of went through your Twitter a little bit. You also got traded in that.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
want to, so what was that process like, as a player? Like, how did that all come to be?
Yeah. I believe you're talking about when I got traded from, it said Port Huron, probably the Port Huron Prowlers to the Columbus River
Yes.
Dragons. I believe that. So how that happened was I was actually with the Delaware Thunder to start the year, and things weren't going too well there. So I asked for my release. Wanted to just be a free agent so that other teams had the opportunity to pick me up on waivers. That's how the free agency. I'm sure you know that,
Yep.
obviously, following pro hockey. So how it works in the FPHL is when you go on waivers, every team has a chance to pick you up within, I think it's 48 hours. And it goes by the teams that are lowest in the league get first dibs. So I actually got picked up by the Binghamton Black Bears, who were like second or third in the division. But then Port Huron, who was lower than them, went in before the window was over and pretty much stole me from them. I was actually already in Binghamton, moved in. I was at the rink for a practice, and I got a call. They said, "Yeah, Port Huron went in and took you," and that was all the way out in Michigan. So then I was like, "Oh, well, I guess I got to go out to Michigan now." And then Port Huron traded me to Columbus, so I guess they went in and took me for trade value. and then sent me to Columbus, and then so I went from Delaware up to Binghamton, and then down to Georgia. So
Dang.
that was a fun 72 hours there.
Yeah, that's crazy. It kind of reminds me of like the DFA system in baseball. That's kind of what that sounded like.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
very similar.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, my next question kind of is like as a player, obviously you're a coach now. How much as a player kind of dictates or makes your philosophy as a coach now that you've kind of stepped into that role?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think one of my strengths, as a coach, or maybe you're not call it a strength, but just a benefit is my age. I think, being a little bit, I'm 29, right? So being a little bit closer to the generation of players that I'm coaching in age, I think allows me to relate to them, allows me to relate to, what works coaching wise, what doesn't, what's well received, what isn't. And also the game has changed a lot, right? Like the game has changed a lot since the early 2000s, even 2010, 11, 12. So, since I've been playing over the past, within the past decade I've been playing, I think it allows me to have a pretty down to earth grip on the game and what works for players and that type of stuff. So as a coach, I always try to be a coach that I would have wanted to play for. So that's how I use my playing days. It's just that experience.
As you say that, what would be your preferred like coaching style that you would have wanted to play under? Because I know there's some coaches that like to be
Mhm.
very hands off. There's some people that like to be very hands on, like kind of on the bench. Some guys let the players kind of take it themselves. If they need to jump in, they'll jump in. So, what type of style do you prefer to use?
Yeah. So for me, I'm not somebody that you're going to see yelling at players on the bench. Um, I think we've all seen, if you've been to a hockey game, especially at the youth level, there's a lot of coaches who will go on the bench and, their deal have the puck and they'll yell, pass it over, go up, use the glass, do this, do that, skate, dump, like all this type of stuff. To me, you can't do that. Hockey's a read and react game, and you have to let your players play in the game. So for me, the game is my players' time. Like that's when to me as a coach, and I've had this belief, I haven't been coaching for, as long as some people older than me, but I've always had the belief that the coach's job on the bench during a game is pretty overrated, in my opinion. I think what's more important for a coach is what you do Monday through Thursday in practice every day. Are you pushing kids in practice? Are you helping them build good habits? Are you actually coaching them in practice and not just going through the motions and running drills? Are you putting in the time in the video room? Are you making sure that your players are in a good spot mentally? Are you sitting down with them? Are you talking to them one on one? Getting to know them on a personal level. That's also something that's really big for me. So, to me, when the puck drops in the games, obviously the coach has responsibilities managing and doing different things on the bench but that's up to the players at that point, right? To go out and play and compete. So for me, I always liked the coach who, pushed us in practice, pushed us throughout the week, kept us in check. But then when the game time comes, just lets us do our thing. And that's what I try to do.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. From just
Thanks.
watching hockey for pretty much all my life. That's a great philosophy to have. Especially with, as you said, like with it's kind of the players on the ice, so it's to read and react, especially nowadays, how the game has gotten so much quicker, so
Yeah.
much faster. I think that's an excellent way of going about that. Um,
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it. I mean, announce for us, you do, different things and you've been to youth games and I see it all the time. I go on recruiting trips and even summer leagues and stuff, and you see these coaches just constantly shouting at the players and listen, to each their own. I mean, you can coach however you want to coach, right? But to me, that's not the way that you really develop a player.
right.
A player has to be able to do it on his own. So yeah, I think that's the trend of what's more effective, even in the NHL. If you see like the top coaches, like one of my favorites is Rob Brindamore,
Yep.
Carolina Hurricanes. He is a hard coach. He is a hard coach. Paul Maurice, the Florida Panthers, such a hard coach. but how is he hard, right? You watch Paul Maurice mic'd up, he's very positive on the
Oh yeah.
bench. He's not screaming and there's always the one isolated clip, right, of him freaking
Yeah.
out or something. But he's very positive. He lets his guys do his thing. Now, once again, I know it's the NHL, obviously it's a little bit different, but it's the same principle. Like you have to let the guys play. You can't try to play for them from the bench at any level. You can be hard throughout the week. You can be hard in practice. You can be hard in the gym. Make sure that they're putting in the work. You can push them. All that. You have to do that type of stuff as a coach. But when the puck drops, you got to let your team play. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely. I love that. And like with Maurice as well, like when they were losing that game 5 to Carolina in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know if you've seen the clip or not, but when Kachuk scored the power play goal to, I think, kickstart that comeback, he's like Kachuk, he's where he wants to be. Like he's not sitting there yelling. He's kind of like, and he starts celebrating because he knows like his guys are doing what they're supposed to. Like, and
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. You
Yes.
talk about recruiting and whatnot. We've had a lot of people come in, a lot of transfers come, which is excellent. I did see that you guys are holding an ID skate this weekend, I believe. Want to talk about
Yes.
that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So we had one last week. We had one last Sunday. It went really, really well. This is an ID. There's three of them. So we have one tomorrow, and then we have one Sunday as well, this Sunday. And they're ID skates for our top team, our ACHA team. So it's a mix of some returning players from our top team, and then also some select players who have reached out and expressed interest in the university for the following year. So it's a mix of some returning players and then some soon-to-be seniors in high school who might want to play for us in years to come. And last Sunday, was my first time on the ice with the group. I was hired in April, so
Right.
I haven't been on the ice with the group yet until last Sunday. And I thought it was a really, really good skate. I thought the energy was fantastic. Um, Thought that, just as a group, it wasn't our whole team, but I
Hmm.
think we have a great mix of just everything you want in a team, veteran presence, some young guns, goaltending all the way from the back out. Like I think we have a really, really good squad. And but just initially I liked the energy. And then tomorrow we have one again, and then Sunday as well at Leisure Rinks in West Seneca. So probably, going to see some new faces
Yep.
tomorrow. Some kids that couldn't make it, or made it last weekend that couldn't make it tomorrow, and then some kids that are coming for the first time tomorrow. So, but no, they've been good, and I'll tell you, it's great to get back on the ice. It's you miss it when you're off the ice as a player or coach.
Absolutely. And I mean, as a play-by-play man, it's been, I feel like most of the games have been all but like maybe one game I've went to. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch these guys because they fly, they hit, they're great. And
Yes.
I'm excited for you to when you get behind the bench for your first game or even practices like the full on practice when you get back to see how good these guys really are.
Yeah.
Because the last year I've been such a big advocate for this hockey team because obviously we all know St. Bonaventure is a big basketball school.
Yeah.
They just had a baseball player get drafted the
Saw
fourth
that.
round. Um,
Yep.
but I think what goes under the radar is the hockey team. They've been good for the 2 years that I've been there. They need to get the recognition. And that's why I've been such an advocate for everybody on the team and whatnot. But
Yeah.
with that being said, now that you've kind of met some of the guys and got to skate with them a little bit, do you have any kind of expectations for the year going in? It might be a little early, but do you have any like pre-season, we'll call them expectations?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, winning our conference is obviously the first step. Having a successful regular season. I'm not too big on, super long-term goals. I always like to kind of take it one game at a time. Obviously, what's everybody's goal? To win their conference,
Yep.
to win regionals, to win nationals. I don't think there's a single team in all of college hockey who that's not their goal.
Yep.
Right. So obviously, that's our goal. At the same time, I think it's good to break things down in kind of smaller chunks. Right now, what I'm focused on is just having a really good, tryouts in September, having a good 2 weeks of training camp. To me, that stuff's super important. Looking down the road, this is our first year in the ACHA in a while.
Mhm.
I know Bonas was ACHA years ago. We've been in AAU and CHF for a little
Yep.
bit. So, stepping it up this year. I mean, we're playing some really, really good competition this year. some top 25 teams. We're going to Liberty, we're going to Penn State, we're going to Clarkson. Yeah, so we have some really, really good competition on the schedule. Um, and but to be honest with you, everything that I've seen speaks to me that we're going to do really well this year. So I think the sky's the limit for this group. I really do. I think, if we just take it one game at a time, one weekend at a time, one practice at a time, that type of mindset, I
Mhm.
think by the end of the year, we're going to look back and say, you know what, we had a lot of success this year.
Absolutely. The one that kind of perks me up is Penn State.
Yes.
Um, Obviously, Gavin McKenna just expressed his he's going to sign with Penn State.
Yes.
Number one overall prospect next year in the NHL draft. People
Hmm.
didn't know he is the cousin of Connor Bedard as well. Fun
Yes.
fact there. I'd love to go to that game. I don't know if I could, but I'd love to go to see that game. Might be the one game I might ask you, like, hey, can I travel with the team for this one just for some reasons? But yeah, with that being said, like, uh, say a person that's never been to a Bonnie's hockey game before.
Right.
They're kind of new to hockey. What would you tell them to expect to see when they go to the game that day?
So I'd say the first thing is just you're going to be excited. You're going to be excited. You're going to be interested, and you're going to have fun. Those would be the biggest things. Hockey is an exciting game, and it's even more exciting in person. I think it's a great, great televised game. But at the same time, I mean, when you go to a hockey game in person, like you said, being on the ground floor, watching those guys fly up and down the ice, it's something to see. Um, and I mean, to me, how can you not like hockey? I mean, it has everything, and it has the physical element, it has hitting, it has skill. It takes a tremendous amount of skill to play the game well. It has, just really everything you would want in a game. It has, the competition, the skill, the physicalness. I think it's a really exciting game, and if you haven't been to a hockey game or a Bonus hockey game specifically, you got to come out this year because it's going to be a really, really fun year. We're stepping up the level of competition that we're going to be playing, but our program is also stepping up at the same time. So it's a really exciting time to come watch us play.
Absolutely. Speaking of exciting, what are you most excited about? This could be Bonnie's hockey related. This could be St. Bonaventure University related. What are you most excited for this being your first year at campus?
Well, to be honest, I just am really happy to be at this university. Um, I'm excited just for the future of St. Bonaventure. I think the hockey program, just to isolate hockey for a second, I think is really growing in the right direction. I know it's growing in the right direction. But at the same time, the university is growing. Enrollment is up. The university is growing. We're adding, we're building. Um, I just think this is a great, great place to be. And, to be honest, being from New Jersey, New St. Bonaventure, probably how
Right.
most people know it for the basketball.
Yep.
Good sports, good hockey, good baseball, all that type of stuff. But, um, once I got out here, I saw like, wow, this is a unique place. This is a unique community. And, I know sometimes people say that just to say it because it sounds nice, but no, this is actually a really, really unique community. It's a great group of people, phenomenal people that work here, phenomenal people that attend the university, and I'm just excited for not only the future of the hockey program, but just the future of the university here. I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And as a student, we all kind of see that.
Yeah,
And
sure.
especially being, involved with Bonnie's hockey, as much as I have been, being a play-by-play and all the other stuff that Rick Carneth asked us to do. As a part of the production team. It's been a joy. And
Mm.
I'm really, really excited to get my hands on the first game I get to do this year. Um, but with that being said, we're all excited for Bonnie's hockey. But as I asked, NHL World, first I gotta ask, I see a Nashville Predators jersey there. Who is that?
No, so that is actually I can grab it really, really quick. This is actually says
Oh,
Saint Bona,
ah,
and then it does have the Predators logo. So this is. I don't know if I have the story exactly spot on. I believe it's an alumni of the university, worked for the Nashville Predators,
yes.
and is a supporter of the hockey program, and got that jersey custom made for the university. Now, if you want my NHL team, that's the
Rangers.
NHL team right there. I just pulled up my mouse pad. So, um, Born and raised Ranger fan. Obviously grew up in New Jersey, but my dad was a Rangers fan since the 50s. So the Devils were not around back then.
Yep.
So he was brought up a New York Rangers fan, and that wasn't going to change because of the Devils coming into town. So then I was naturally brought up a Rangers fan.
Yep. I think at the time the Devils would have been, I believe they would have been the Kansas City Scouts. Either the Scouts or they were the Colorado. No, they were the Scouts. I think that, yeah, because the other Colorado team was still around at the time. The Rockies were still
Yeah,
around, so it would have been the Kansas City Scouts at that time.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, as a Rangers fan, obviously they've kind of had a big offseason. They trade away their longtime face of the franchise, Chris Kreider.
hmm
They signed Vlad Gavrikov to that 7-year deal. Kind of what are
hmm
your thoughts of their offseason have been so far?
Love the signing of Gavrikov. Thought that was a great play. Think he's a really good defenseman. Um, it's tough for the Rangers. So, I've been watching them, since I can remember. We've had a couple of teams that have gone far. First, it was the John Tortorella Rangers,
Yep.
which was like 2011, 2012. You had Marion Gaborik and Brad Richards and Lundqvist, and then that team didn't make it. They made it to the Cup, but they didn't make it. And then recent years, we've had the Panarins, Zibanejad, Shesterkin, Group, Kreider, and they fell short. So I think if I'm reading it right, I think they're kind of starting a bit of a not full rebuild because you still have a really good
Right.
core, but I think they're kind of starting to, I mean, Kreider tough guy to see go. I mean, I remember watching him his first NHL goal. I remember watching in 2012 in the playoffs. I remember watching the game against the Capitals, and so it's kind of like a bit of a dying era for the Rangers now losing those guys. But I think Mike Sullivan's a great coach. I think that was a great hire. I like Peter Laviolette too, but it's the NHL. It's tough. It's high standards. Coaches don't always last so long in the NHL, unfortunately.
Right. You'd actually kind of laugh at the Laviolette stuff because ever since I want to say the deadline, our episodes, I swear, Sean, every episode has said, "Oh, the Rangers are just a Peter Laviolette problem." And obviously, he's a Capitals fan, so he had Laviolette as a
Oh,
coach
I
for a few
see. Yeah.
years, and
hmm
he's been banging the drum of, "Oh, the Rangers are still a really good team. It's just Peter Laviolette has the one good year of really good success, and then he sucks."
Right.
And I think because the last episode he was kind of questioning the Gavrikov deal, where I'm like, no, it makes sense. They needed a defensive guy for Fox, so Fox can go do Fox things.
Yes. Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
and he was kind of questioning, well, why would you give him that much of a term? And that I'm like, well, because guys that are more defensively sound like that, they usually have a longer shelf life than a guy that's mostly based in offense because if the offense goes, they really got nothing to lean back on.
Yeah.
But he's been banging the drum of, and I wish he was here for that because he'd get a kick. But he's been banging the drum. It's just been a Laviolette problem, and he was not very enthused when he saw the Rangers got Sullivan. Um, but yeah, I think the Rangers will be better than people expect. I think they're definitely should be going into a retool. I can't say much as a Sabres fan. We've been on a rebuild for 15 years, so uh,
You guys
but
need Dominic Hasek back. He'll solve all the problems.
we need more than Dominic Kostic back.
No, I know. I know.
I wish we had him back. Trust me, I feel a lot more confident going into the year.
Yeah. No, he's probably my favorite of all time. He's
Yeah,
one of the best. One of the best to ever do it. Probably the best goalie in my opinion. But no, I mean, listen, Laviolette. I think he's a great coach. Just based off of, what I've seen from the outside. Obviously, you're not in the locker room, right? So you don't know fully, but I think he's a great coach. I thought Gerard Gallant was a really good coach before him, but and anybody who's a New York sports fan knows this. You're in New York, you have all the pressure of the world on you.
hmm
You don't deliver like that, you can be out of there. And that's
absolutely.
with the Mets, the Yankees, the Jets, the Giants, the Rangers, the Knicks. The Knicks fired their coach too,
Yep,
right? Who was doing really well. That's just New York sports. It's a very high standard, and there's not a lot of wiggle room for error. So, um, yeah, but no, I think I think their problems, the Rangers run a little bit deeper than just coaching, but I guess we'll see this year.
absolutely. So just kind of your thoughts on the offseason a little bit. We see Mitch Marner get dealt, sign and trade to Vegas from Toronto.
Yep.
Nick Ehlers signs in Carolina. What to you kind of was like the biggest move do you think of the offseason for you at least as a fan?
I think the one you just said, I think Marner to Vegas, because to me, Vegas is not that far away from
No.
being but they just won the cup 2 years, was it 2 seasons ago?
Yep, 2 years ago.
Right? I think you got to watch out for them this year. Listen, Florida is your prototypical built for the playoffs hockey team. I think they'll be good again. But when I saw Marner going to Vegas, I mean, Vegas, they lost. Was it game seven or what did they lose this year in the postseason?
I think it might have been game six. I think it was game six.
It was the Oilers?
I believe, yeah, it was like, no, they lost in five. They lost in five to Vegas or to Edmonton because the only game that they won that I can recall was that really fluky goal by Riley Smith in game
Yes. Yeah.
five, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you got to watch out for them. I mean, if Marner really breaks out for them, I think that could be, a really, really big move. Also, I mean, you talk about, big plays, Jonathan Taves.
Yep.
I mean, how about saying that name in the NHL again? That's pretty cool. I mean, I haven't followed him too much. What's the latest on his return? Is it 100% or no?
Yep. He signed in his hometown team at Winnipeg. They held the conference and everything. I mean, the contract is very low. Like it's like I think $1 million base, but a lot of incentives in it. I'm excited to see, and he even said I'll play in the fourth line, which is a guy that was probably the best captain in the NHL for many years on those
100%.
dominant Blackhawk teams in the early 2010s. To hear that from him, he wants to earn it, which is great. And I hope nothing but the best for Jonathan Taves, especially after everything he's been through. I hope absolutely nothing but the best for him.
Oh, absolutely. And I think just having him is worth that contract.
Absolutely.
Just having him in the locker room, even if you said Jonathan Taves is not going to touch the ice all year, which he is obviously,
Hmm.
having a guy like that in your room is so valuable. For like you said, former captain of a dynasty team.
Hmm.
I thought when I saw that was pretty awesome to see.
Absolutely. I saw that and I'm like, cool, because the two rumored spots were Colorado, and Winnipeg, and he ultimately chose his hometown team. Um, yeah, I think that it was like for standards, the offseason was like fairly boring. A lot of the big moves were kind of made already. I think the only person like really were waiting on was Ehlers.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
but even still, like it was a good offseason, a lot of trades. Obviously nobody saw JJ. Well, unless you're a Frank Saravalli, nobody saw the JJ Paterka trade happening. I certainly didn't. I fought it for weeks. Um, as a Sabres fan, but do you kind of have like an opinion on how that deal is for Utah and Buffalo? The deal was Utah gets JJ Paterka, which then they extended him on a 5 year, $7.7 million per year extension. And Buffalo got defenseman Michael Castlereagh and forward Josh Doan, which initially I wanted to throw my phone through the wall because I'm like, that's it. But as I kind of dove into it, I'm like, okay, Buffalo needed a partner for power. They got maybe a gem in Castlereagh, and I think a lot of people are underestimating Josh Doan, and he's still young. So I don't think it'll be as bad as people are gonna think it is, but time will tell with that. So you kind of have an opinion on that deal at all?
You know what? My opinion on that is I think Buffalo is trying their best to spark something.
Absolutely.
It's I just don't know what to say about Buffalo. I mean, it's been so tough. You draft well, right? You draft
Oh
Eichel.
yeah.
You bring in the right guys and Tage Thomas and you have your top end guys and you just can't put together the wins. To me, it's very reminiscent, not to switch sports, but similar to how the Jets have
Yep.
kind of been.
Yep.
I'm a Jets fan too. I think I have a Jets hat back there, but um, you know, done all the right moves on paper, and it
Yes.
just doesn't translate to the field or the ice. I feel like that's kind of what Buffalo's been going through. I will say, just because you sparked my mind, the Keandre Miller trade for the Rangers.
Yes. That too.
Um, was it Scott Murrow was the player's
Yes.
name? I think that was a really good trade for the Rangers.
Absolutely.
Keandre Miller, listen, really good. At this point, you could say veteran. It's crazy, but really good big defenseman, ton of skill, can score. But I think the Rangers needed to shake something up too.
Yes.
And the picks plus Scott Murrow, I mean, that kid's young. He's got a lot of potential. I mean, that could be a really kind of a sleeper trade
Right.
if he pans out plus the two picks. I like that move by Drury and the Rangers.
Absolutely. We kind of talked about that. We both kind of thought it was a win-win for both teams. Obviously
Yeah.
you get a draft pick in the next year's draft, which is significantly loaded. And
Yep.
we kind of thought Scott Moore will get a little bit younger, get a guy top six. He'll be good, still young, could develop. And for the Hurricanes, Miller's still somewhat young, and they needed a guy to put alongside one of their big guns up top, like Slavin or Nikishin or somebody like that. And maybe with Brandon Moore's coaching style, they'll spark because I know a lot of the issues I think Rangers fans had in New York with Kendrick Miller is, but he wasn't really that great defensively. Like he shows signs of his offensive style, which he's a great offensive player, but his defensive skills were, kind of subpar for what they were expecting. And I think I kind of thought, well, maybe that now he's in Carolina, more of a defensive heavy system. Maybe they can kind of teach him how to, play more of a two-way style. That's kind of my thinking behind it. But I thought it was a great deal for both teams when initially saw it.
Yeah, I think Miller will do well in Carolina. I do believe the D zone, like what Laviolette was running, which I believe is kind of a hybrid of man on man and
Yep.
zone, as opposed to Brendan Moore pretty much runs a full man on man system
Hmm.
defensively. I think that'll be a little bit better for Miller because I think Miller is more of a kind of stay with you type of defenseman
Yes.
as opposed to like sitting in one spot. So I think that'll be good for his game. And then when you flip it to the Rangers side, I mean, like you said, two picks, first round, second round in a loaded draft, like you said, and then you get Scott Murrow, who potentially could turn out to be a superstar in the NHL.
Absolutely.
I think it was a smart move for probably both teams, but definitely for the Rangers.
Absolutely. So with the schedule just getting dropped, I don't know if you've seen any like the games that are coming up as a Rangers fan or whatnot, or stuff. I know we play you opening night in Buffalo, October 9th. That's not the game I'm most excited for. I'm excited for January 10th against the Ducks because that's my birthday. But
Okay.
um, is there anything on the schedule you're kind of circling, looking forward to in the upcoming years as a Rangers fan?
Well, I think the Rangers play the Penguins for their home opener, I believe, or maybe it's the Penguins' home opener.
Okay, I
It's
can
one
check
or
real
the
quick.
other.
Let me check real
I
quick for
think
you.
I think it's at the Garden, I believe. And I think that'll be a cool game for Mike Sullivan coming from the Penguins. And I think that's going to be cool.
Yeah, Sullivan. That move kind of shocked me, but I understood it. Pittsburgh is just in a spot where they need to rebuild. And I thought that was a good first step. Yes, the home opener is Tuesday, October 7th, and it is New York. It's Sullivan's first game against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is coming to town for the Rangers.
Yes, I think that's a game initially when I saw, I was like, that's awesome. Um, I think Sullivan's a great coach, and listen, I'm probably a little coach biased at this point
That's
because I'm coach. But I think. Pittsburgh, they're, a little bit older now, and, I mean, Crosby can still play and all that. But, to me, Mike Sullivan wasn't the problem.
no,
That's my analysis of it. I'm not the owner of the Penguins, and obviously, whatever decisions they make, they're confident in. But um, to me, it runs a little bit deeper. But you know what? Maybe that's the first step is kind of changing the leadership, and I guess that's how they're viewing it. But as a Rangers fan, we couldn't be happier to
absolutely.
to get a guy like Mike Sullivan in. I mean, he's a great coach, two Stanley Cups. Um, I mean, to me, it's just a kind of a perfect fit for what I think the Rangers were looking for coaching wise. Because, Laviolette, I think, once again, not in the room, so you don't fully know. But
Right.
I think Sullivan's style, and like I said, I like Laviolette, but I think Sullivan's style will kind of be exactly what the Rangers need. So I'm excited for the season as a Rangers fan, but I'm always excited, and I usually get disappointed. So
That's that's me every year as a Steelers fan, unfortunately.
yeah, that's how it is.
It's this when you love a team, you're just like, yeah, we're gonna be good this year. Then sometimes they're there, sometimes they're.
Hmm.
Yeah, with the Sullivan move, I felt like in Pittsburgh, he wasn't a bad coach at all. I
No.
just felt like it was one of those deals where good coach, but has ran his shelf life.
Mm.
It's time for a change. Do you think, and this is obviously it's been a really hot take in the world because obviously Sidney Crosby has been a Penguin his entire career.
Mhm.
I don't see him going anywhere, but we will see. Do you think that maybe Kyle Dubas has the cojones to maybe move on from Crosby and really try to expedite this rebuild? Because the return they would get for him would be monstrous.
That's such a tough question because you don't know what they're thinking. I personally think that Crosby is still worth his contract. I think he's
Absolutely.
still, I don't think he's a guy where it's like, let's dump him for picks, obviously.
Absolutely.
That's a Crosby, if you're trading him, you're asking for serious return.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Crosby's the problem. But you don't always trade a player because they're the problem.
Right.
Sometimes you trade them because they hold value and you need something in return. So it depends on what approach you want to take to the rebuild over in Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't see them doing that. I just don't. Crosby's too much of a generational player to me. He has multiple Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh. To me, I think he'll end his career there. But I'll tell you what, if they did, it would probably be a good move for getting something in return because they would get multiple high-end players in return. But you're also losing Sidney Crosby, who I believe was he still put up 70, 80 points a year?
Yeah, he's still Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, right. So I mean, you're still losing one of the best players in the NHL. So I don't like the play. I didn't and I don't see it happening, to be honest.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I don't think they'll do it.
I don't think so either because I think Sidney has expressed his desire to stay in Pittsburgh and retire a Penguin, kind of like Mario.
Absolutely.
Um, Kind of more of a personal question for you.
Mhm.
If you had to attend an NHL game, any of the arenas, where would you go and why?
Well, I'm gonna pick an arena that I haven't been to. Is that kind of the question? Because I obviously
More
have been to
so,
yeah, because
yes.
I've been to Madison Square Garden 500,000
You're
times. So,
right.
um, let me think for a second here. Uh, I've been to a good amount of them. Like some of the big one, I've been to the Bell Center.
Yep.
I've been to TD Garden, been to MSG. Um, you know what? I think I would probably say going to like one of the big Canadian arenas, like maybe a Maple Leafs game or even a Winnipeg Jets. Like, I was very young when I went to the Canadians game. I think I was 6.
Okay.
So I don't really remember it. I think going to one of those would be cool. I'm going to give you a couple. I'm not really going to answer the question directly.
That's fine.
The other two that pop out are Nashville Predators.
Yep.
I just think I've been to Nashville twice. I've never gone to a game, and I just think going to a game there and then seeing Broad Street or Broadway after,
Yep.
I think would just be so amazing. And then the last one I'd probably say would be maybe it's because of their recent success with the Florida Panthers. I mean,
Yeah.
that seems like a really, really cool place to be. I've been down to Florida a couple of times and I haven't been able to go, but I'd love to go to a Panthers game. I think that'd be sick.
Yeah. Definitely. I'd love Montreal would be great. I've heard nothing like, especially when we talked to Dan Dunleavy. He said
Mhm.
there's nothing like it.
Yeah,
Like being
yeah,
in Montreal. Like it doesn't matter, good, bad, whatever. They are loud and they are passionate.
yeah,
Probably a place I would want to go, especially being with our ties to Vegas would be out there.
yeah,
That atmosphere just seems nuts, but it's not the type of nuts where it's like I'd be annoyed. It seems like an atmosphere. It's like it's kind of like good nuts.
yeah, right.
It's crazy that you'd think Vegas, you wouldn't think they love hockey, but they're hockey obsessed out there. And
I said it to my brother when I was probably 17 or 18. I remember telling him we were having a debate where the next NHL team was going to be. And I brought up Vegas. And I told him, I was like, I think it'll work. I said, I don't know why, but I think it'll work. And I remember, he disagreed with me but it works.
Mhm.
It's a great, honestly, I forgot about them, but that would be a great place to go too. I mean, that place is loud, it's exciting. They do great, they put on a great show.
Yep.
They entertain you. The team is good. I mean, it's yeah, no, I mean there's almost really there's not a bad NHL arena,
No.
left. They're all pretty awesome.
Speaking of like expansion, that's probably the last hockey related question here before we get. There's a segment I wonder because at the end of the episode we usually do a random player of the day. I'll ask you
Mhm.
one more question if you want to do that. I have a player lined up for you.
Okay.
Um, um, with the expansion being rumored around the corner, obviously they've rumored we're going back to Atlanta third time, possibly. Houston's been rumored. What teams or what st cities would you like to see possibly get a team?
The first one that jumps out at most people, and for me too, is Atlanta. I thought the Thrashers were a cool team.
Yep.
And I played minor pro hockey down in Georgia, in Columbus. So the South loves hockey.
See?
They do. They really do. Look at the Stars, look at the Panthers, look at the Light. Like the South loves hockey. Look at the Hurricanes. Um, I think hockey would do well in Atlanta. I don't know if it was necessarily done the right way last time. Yeah, I think if they gave it another run with a little bit better of an approach, I think it would really, really work. Because look at all the other Atlanta teams. I mean, the Falcons, and they all have great attendance.
Absolutely.
Cardinals, and but I think Atlanta would be really cool. Um, besides that, oh man. Um, I don't know. That's probably the one I'd be most excited about. Would be a couple more teams down south. I think would be cool to expand the NHL in that
Hmm.
direction.
Yeah, I'd love to see Atlanta back. Obviously, that was a little bit
Mm.
before my time watching
Yeah.
hockey,
Hmm.
but I feel like that team never got a fair shot. Bad ownership, bad
Yes.
management. I mean, they made the playoffs once, got swept up by the Rangers in 06, 07.
Yep.
But they had Kovalchuk. They had a lot of guys that, and I like kind of getting into hockey where I kind of always liked Ilya Kovalchuk. I love him.
Oh, it's
Um,
great. Great
Loved
player.
him. But yeah, I would definitely love to see Atlanta come back. People are like, oh, they're getting a third chance. There's numerous teams in the league that had multiple chances. Atlanta or Calgary had, or Colorado's had two teams. Like,
Mhm.
there's been Ottawa's on their second edition of the Senators. Like, there's been multiple editions in certain teams in certain places. So, I definitely think that they should get another crack at it with good ownership that can kind of lead them because it's shown with good ownership like Vegas, expansion teams can like be very good very quick.
Yeah. I think it would do well. Also, something to be factored in since like you said, 06, 07, 08, when the Thrashers were around, hockey has grown massively
Hmm.
in the South. The increase of junior hockey teams,
Yep.
the increase of youth teams, the increase of minor league pro teams, and now the increase of college hockey. You look at
Hmm.
the SEC just moved to the ACHA,
Yep.
right? So all of those. So hockey is growing in the South, and I think it's grown significantly over the past like 15, 16 years since the Thrashers. So I think another run at it, I think they'd be successful.
Yeah, that actually sparks another question for me too. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, you've seen United States hockey has really kind of blown up the past few years.
Yeah.
They've won back-to-back World Juniors. They just won their first men's title in
Hmm.
92 years. They're starting to become a powerhouse rivaling Canada. With that being said, with all the new rules with the NCAA and the CHL being allowed for prospects to now come over from juniors to college hockey, do you think at some point that college hockey will be a preferred destination for junior athletes over like the CHL or overseas in Europe?
Yeah, I want 100%. I think college hockey is the strongest it's ever been. And, now that they changed those rules a bit, I think you're going to see college hockey teams expanding, programs having multiple teams, programs getting hockey that previously didn't have it. I think the only thing that slows up the process a little bit is you need a rink,
Right.
right? With every other sport, usually have a baseball field, usually have a soccer field within town or on campus. Hockey, you need that ice, and that can kind of make it tough. But I think slowly but surely over time, absolutely. I mean, the path that college offers, as opposed to, going overseas or playing, in the CHL or something like that. I mean, those can be successful paths for people. But to me, the opportunity to go to a university or a college, get your education, be with people your age, develop as a person, and play hockey in front of those people who you go to school with, I think is just the unbelievable opportunity. And I think it's going to be really, really attractive to people.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay, so are you ready for a random player of the day?
Let's do it.
All right. So this man, he was drafted first overall or first round, 27th overall in the 1998 entry draft by the New Jersey Devils.
First round, what overall?
97 or good Lord, excuse me, 27th overall,
27th overall.
27th overall in 1998 by the Devils.
Hmm.
Um He played for New Jersey from 1999 all the way up until 2007, where he signed in with the Rangers, played there for 3 years. 2 years. He played with the Rangers for 2 years and then signed a big contract in Montreal in 2009 and then played with San Jose for a year in 2012, 2013, then the Florida in 2013, 14, went back to New Jersey in 2014, 15, and then spent his last year in 2015, 16 on St. Louis and Ottawa. His averages, he played 1,079 games. He scored 181 goals and he had 756 points.
Could you read me the stats again? Just
Yes.
the point stats.
He had 181 goals, 575 assists, and 656 points.
I had somebody, but then uh, is there a time limit here?
No, you can take as long as you want. Trust me, Sean has trouble with some of this stuff too. Like it's not like me. From my knowledge, is like I'm pretty good at these, but Sean takes the time too. So you take your time.
27th. He went to the Canadians after the Rangers.
Yes, it was a big free agency signing. I'll help you out with that. Didn't really work out in Montreal. A lot of people thought it was going to be a great contract. It did not. It did not work out at all.
And what year was he with the Rangers? What
Two,
were the years?
2007 to 2009. He's a centerman. I'll give you that as well. That might help you out a little
I
bit.
have somebody I want to say, but I think he scored more than 100. How many goals did he score?
181.
Over how many seasons?
Uh,
10 seasons?
16.
Yeah, I don't think maybe.
His best year with the Devils was 2005, 2006, where he scored 33 goals and 84 points in 82 games.
Okay, I think I'm gonna take a guess and
Go ahead.
say Scott Gomez.
You got it. Good job.
Yes, there it is.
Scott
I
Gomez.
I wasn't sure because I thought Gomez might have gotten more goals than 181, but I could tell you it was for Ryan McDonough
Yes.
was the trade for Devils or Canadians traded Ryan McDonough for Scott Gomez.
Yes. So that was the deal. I can't remember if it was a signing or a trade. Yeah, for McDonough. Yeah, that contract did not age very well in Montreal.
No, it didn't.
And
No, his best years were in New Jersey, and he had some good in New York, and then yeah, that was ended up being a really bad deal for Montreal because look how McDonough, turned out
he
as
he
a really high-end defenseman.
he
But
was absolutely phenomenal for the Canadians. Well, Mike, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast today. We appreciate it here. It was a pleasure talking to you, and um, I hope you enjoyed everything. I tried to think of the best questions possible. I hope they were okay. So,
they were
um,
awesome. I appreciate the time, and I'd love to be back on soon.
yeah, we will hopefully, if it allows us, hopefully we could have you on maybe once a week for the hockey year, if that's up to you, obviously, with your schedule and
A-
whatnot.
Absolutely, let's do
We'd
it.
we'd love to do that. Obviously, and I'll actually talk to Sean when we get to him. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to this special edition of the Sniper Square podcast. We'll see you all later.